Lawyers of Reddit. At what point, when working for a defendant, did you realize, my client is a monster? A lot of years ago I used to work as a solicitor's representative. Cases go to Crown Court. Barrister deals and I am there for paperwork, additional stuff with client etc. 70-something-year-old man had been in jail for 15 years for an assault on a child. Solicitor and barrister working on getting him released due to him getting clean reports from just about everyone. Guards took him out of jail to a dentist, and as he entered the waiting room he saw 2 children and ran straight at them. Monsieur guards stopped him. Monsieur 3 weeks later at court I was the one that sat him down in a room to explain that no, this isn't a hearing to release you. It is so you can be committed to a mental health secure facility for the rest of your life. He didn't take that well. I shed no tears. Well, that's absolutely terrifying. He was obviously ill, but I wonder what was going on in his brain to instantly try and attack the monsieur. Not the client but my managing partner. The client was a senile 90-year-old man. He wanted to sell land worth a little less than $1 billion to some businessmen. Suffice to say there were many who wanted to take advantage of the situation. One such person, to my dismay, was our managing partner. The partner wanted to insert a provision that would have effectively funneled about 60% of the proceeds solely to him. Monsieur, you could see how his eyes gleamed at the mere mention of money. The provision got lost in the revisions. I was doing the revisions. I'm no longer part of that scummy firm, monsieur. Did you consider bringing it to whatever governing body you're under? This sounds like legal malpractice. My general psychology professor worked for the state of Arkansas assessing criminals to see if they would qualify as criminally insane. He told us a story one time about a guy who would get glass shards and hide them underneath his skin, presumably to use at a more opportune time. He said his interview with the guy made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Ivan Milat, serial killer of backpackers in Australia. Inspiration for Wolf Creek was so dependent on inducing pain that when he couldn't hurt others, he turned to self-mutilation. He partially amputated a finger, used a plastic knife to saw through the bone, and put it in an envelope addressed to the High Court of Australia, all while maintaining his innocence. That's what I want to do. The psychologist part, not the glass shards part. I'm on the other side. But I've got a defendant who went to prison for starving 3 adopted children to the point that they needed weeks of hospitalization. Then got out of prison and married a guy with children so that she could start starving them. 2. Listening to her interview where she attempts to justify what she did to both sets of kids disturbed me more than any of the murder cases I've worked on. What was her justification? We had a client try and enforce a post-employment restraint against a 19-year-old receptionist after she quit and started working for a competitor. The reason? He wanted to make her life hell because she wouldn't sleep with him. A creepy 57-year-old man. Him trying to sleep with her was the reason she quit. Unsurprisingly, he didn't take our advice to discontinue his claim, and so we ended up sending him elsewhere. See, this right here shows the one thing many different type of assholes share. They don't know when to ducking stop. He could have been done for sexual harassment and he got away with it. But he had to keep going. Not once thinking he'd done something wrong. Please tell me he got some kind of conviction. Ianal, but a legal assistant. We got a client off of a murder charge. 2 weeks later she was caught with a similar weapon and situation. Except this time the guy didn't die. She tried to sell her baby. I found out during a hearing, in front of the judge. The people who try to sell babies surprise me. The people who try to buy babies confound me. Gonna be honest here. If I was approached by someone selling a baby, I would pay whatever they wanted, then call the police. Probably would get charged with something myself. But getting a kid away from a person like that would be worth it. I listened to a 911 call where the victim's throat was slit while on the call by our client. I will never forget her gurgling and sounding like she was dying. Somehow she ultimately lived through this, saying, "He killed me. He killed me." That is not something I ever wish to hear. EMT here. It is surprising how accurate a patient's sense of impending dread can be. Many cases will literally say, "I'm dying now. I'm about to die," with what seems like a 4/5 chance of being accurate. Of course, this is only anecdotal, though in training they say if your patient tells you they are about to die on you, they are about to try their damnedest. Holy shit. Yup, this is the comment that did me in. She lived? My goodness. Thank God. Oh, I can share a good story. I had a teacher in high school who was a former lawyer. We always asked him why he gave up his practice to start teaching. He finally caved and explained that his last case was the defense of 3 people. Apparently there had been a 4th. It was 2 couples, who in the act of a drunken, drugged-out orgy, decided to kill, partially eat, and dismember one of the women. I guess it seemed like a good idea at the time. As a lawyer, he said it was pretty open and shut, but he had to get his clients the best result possible, and he was exposed to all the horrid details, the pictures, and their reasoning. My teacher had such a far-off look when he explained it that we could see it really got to him as here. Did he ever say what their reason was? Dang. I am surprised he told your HS class that. I had a teacher who served in the military, and if you asked him about his service he was not amused, and never shared anything. Go ahead and say it. When I practiced family law and criminal defense, I trusted and believed my criminal defense clients 100x more than my divorce custody clients. The worst monsters are the people who manipulate minor children for custody reasons. Duck theme is here. Luckily I am out of that area of law. Hopefully for good. My parents divorced when I was 12. My piece of shit mother, though my father was worse, stopped at a lawyer's office and made me get out of the car and go inside the office. She sobbed hysterically fake, and when we finally left I asked why I had to be there. Somehow throughout her narcissism, possibly because of pride over this, she told me, so he can see who he's hurting me. My alcoholic, abusive, narcissistic asshole of a mother straight up said in different words to my face, "I used you as a pawn." Duck parents, people like this. As a manipulated my younger brother, much worse, youth in a custody battle by a pharmaceutically dependent parent. I wish this comment would move up in the ranks. They say criminal is where you see bad people on their best behavior, and family is where you see good people on their worst behavior. Had a divorce client, husband and father, who disowned his autistic son. Tried to argue that he should get all of his wife's retirement having not worked for 12 years. Contacted me during the height of Hurricane Sandy. He was in the Bronx and me in Manhattan, saying he wanted to hold his wife in contempt for not paying him that day while the storm slammed NYC. Told me I was making a huge mistake getting married. My wedding date was November 3rd. 4 days after Sandy, saying that I was going to be miserable and regret it. I could go on, but the worst was when, several months later, since his divorce was taking a long time, he sent death threat letters to myself and my wife saying that he had hired an executor to kill the 2 of us if his divorce wasn't finalized in 60 days. Called the police and they said he left his premises 1 day earlier. I heard nothing from him until February 2014 when he emailed me saying he needed a winter coat from his wife and could I help get it for him. Ironically, the divorce didn't have to be completed because he killed himself before the judge signed the judgment of divorce. Thoroughly uncool. Well, that was some mental illness on display. My mom is a lawyer. This is the story about how she quit being a public defender. When you are a public defender, you don't get to choose your cases. She got assigned a young man who, with the help of his girlfriend, had gotten a kitten from a free to a good home ad in the paper. They then brought it home and gave it to their dog as a chew toy. I think they also filmed it. So yeah, She said she needed a shower after every meeting with him. Monsieur cancelled her PD contract after the case concluded. Thank you for watching. Comment safety. If you have reached this far into the video, have a good day.